Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes for those keeping count. This is episode 315, and I'm bringing back my awesome friend, Mohawk Matt Denny, who incidentally hasn't been on the show since episode 160 back in November of 2021. And before that, it was another episode of, I guess it was episode 107, and that was October of 2020. So I want to welcome you back, Matt. And I know things have changed. It's been 3 years, but you are rocking and rolling. But you're also experiencing some health issues that I think every entrepreneur needs to tackle in their lifetime. I mean, COVID almost took me down a couple years ago, and I was out for about 6 weeks. I thought I was going to die. But that is nothing compared to what you've experienced. And I want everybody to understand that, the first two episodes that we did with Matt were branding your uniqueness 1 and 2. And this is an extension of that series because Matt is one of those unique people in the world that went from not being an entrepreneur to being an entrepreneur, thrust into the world of no safety net. And he is surviving, thriving, and kicking ass. So I'll let you talk now, Matt.
Sounds great. No, I love coming on here, Rob. I really appreciate you having me back. I can't believe it's been that long since the last one. And to show how many episodes you're at now, you're crushing it that way. I'm super pumped for you that way. Yeah, it's been wild. It's I've had the traditional entrepreneurship journey, which is an absolute shit show in every direction. The goods, the bads, the roller coasters, all the things. But I got thrown I got thrown 4 to 6 autoimmune diseases all at once. And I kind of was facing them for years. I didn't really know. Things just kind of got worse and worse. And that's kind of that thing. We know this as entrepreneurs and even a lot of people in general. You kind of just deal with it until it gets absolutely the worst possible. And being Marine, I'm used to just stuffing it down. But things, even though we were trying to figure things out, things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And it wasn't until we really plucked some crazy ideas and found some people that were, I mean, I was talking to you about it for a while. I was really looking at every possible angle. I was like, there's got to be something because I kept going from doctor to doctor, and it was like, okay, and every time we had to start over because it was I went to the point that we put like my actual medical record looks like a resume now because I can just be like, here you go, because we're starting over every single time telling the same story, and every specialist would go, well, it's not our, sorry, it's good news for my field, but bad news, I can't solve this for you. And it wasn't until early spring this year where we started finding something that one worked because we actually found what was going on, and there was a number of things that were cascading, and well, I mean, we can go into some of that, but a lot of it is the underlying base of the freedom it's created as I've gotten my health right, but also the stress
Mhm.
and anxiety as an entrepreneur. One, because yes, the clients, the business, those things, but also I actually went through a different kind of feeling of fraud.
Mhm.
As I was going through all of this, as everything started to get worse before I started to find some answers early this spring, last fall, last winter, I shifted a bit and took on some more full-time clients versus more of the entrepreneur client type stuff. And for a while, it actually really messed with my head. It made me feel like I was failing the entrepreneur world and like, oh no, I'm going backwards because I had to kind of take more some full time work while I was, but it was because I was so drained. When they did some of these test results in April, they found my adrenal glands were 11%. They said doctors don't even know how I was walking and how I wasn't in bed constantly. The ones that actually found what was going on and found the right tests, they were baffled. So my smart ass was like, so you're telling me I've been operating at 11%? Well, shit, what if I get to like 50%? Like these things are going to go fantastic. And so, but going through all that, I really struggled earlier in this year because I was like, I've and it almost like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, but like I'd placate to, oh, I'm still an entrepreneur because there was that in my head. It was my own pressure. No one else cared. My own pressure of
Oh,
like,
I
oh,
care. I
I've,
care.
I've got to
I was
keep
always
going.
asking, "Where is Matt? What's Matt doing?" But yeah, the fraud, I've gone through that. It's that imposter syndrome. Are you good enough?
Yeah,
And entrepreneurs, I think, go through that every single day. Am I good enough for this client? And I think over the last 5 years, I've had to dismiss that. The reason why these people hire me is because I am good enough.
yeah,
And so once you do that, it makes it a little easier to deal with everyday things that come up, and the anxiety is not so high. Now, do I still get anxiety? My wife says I do. I think I try to be cute, uh, cool as a cucumber, as they would say. But I don't like long-term uh, vacations. Anything more than a couple days, I'm great. If it extends more than a week, I'm like, how am I going to talk to these people? How am I going to communicate? What am I going to do? So yeah, it's just I think sometimes we're wired to work constantly, and
yeah.
you are that machine that was programmed by the Marines, and you never give up. You don't. I don't think you know how to rest, and so those illnesses force you to do so.
That they did, 100%. Yeah, that's something. I mean, a lot of people are bad at this, but I'm trying to get better at the creating the downtime. But I also don't like downtime similar to you. So
Mm.
it's like creating the okay. If I'm taking a break from clients, I can still dabble quieter, but on my own stuff. So it keeps my brain going, but not full, but still resting.
And every time I look on social, you are somewhere else. You're always in a different place. But the thing is that I knew years ago, based on who you were, your personality, your drive, that you would be an awesome entrepreneur. The transition has not always been easy, and you've been taking it one step at a time and learning. But when I see these pictures, you're at one event after another, and everybody, well, I think I just lost my voice. Everybody that you encounter appreciates the message that you're sharing.
I think it's. I was having a conversation with someone probably 2 3 weeks ago, and he's a podcast guy like yourself, and he was talking about how like he has a company that builds podcasts for folks, and he's a Marine too. I know him from that, and as he's talking about it, he's like everyone starts to build, and they always start to focus on conversion
Mhm.
and monetize, and how do we get this and that, and I think that's in both business, podcast, life. That's one of the things that I think to your point of connecting to people, that's probably my biggest differentiator. I am more focused on passion and community than I am conversion. And yeah, it takes longer, it takes time, but for me, I think that's where the real relationships are. Like podcasting, doing these, like doing lives. That's like doing videos with folks. That's like my Super Bowl. That's me. That's me. These days, Taylor Swift at Wembley, Coldplay, Queen. Like that's my stage, and I just love communicating, sharing, just for the people aspect.
Mhm.
Yeah, I need to things to monetize and things that way, but I'll figure out another way.
Mhm.
I just love meeting people. Like I still have this crazy idea that I'm gonna just produce thousands and thousands of podcasts and videos just for educational, just help people connect to people. Like I
Yeah.
was talking to someone, a different person in the podcast game the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, I think people. I like to give people a strategy of like maybe starting with like one a month." I was like, "No, I'm trying to relaunch mine and I want to do like 5 to 6 a week, and not record, but do batch recording, but more because I just, and it's a crazy idea, but I just want to tell people stories. I just want to connect to people. And I learned as much from them as other people do listening. Even if no one listens and it's just me, I just enjoy that aspect of it. And I've just, and that's where I've tried to lean the business to, because every time oh no, I got to convert, I got to monetize. Yeah, an aspect of that. But the more I lean on that, the more my stuff starts to not work. The
Yeah.
more I just
No,
lean on people
for,
and
for me, for this
relationships.
podcast, it's never been about monetizing. It's always been about
Yeah.
people first. It's about telling their story. And, I was just on LinkedIn the other day, and this gal who's probably in her 30s, maybe, a little older, so, a lot younger than me, is constantly pushing out posts selling, selling, selling. And, she's telling the world how much she's making. She's telling the world how they should be posting on LinkedIn, and now she has this course and they ought to buy it. And it's just constant buy, 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 buy. And I've never been that way. I have never tried to push a product, or a service consistently on somebody. Sure, I have books. Sure, I have other
Yeah.
stuff, but it's always been about me educating somebody first and foremost. And that's why I like about you. You do the same thing.
100%. I think that's why we still talk after we met 4 years
Yeah, I
ago.
know. I'm hard to get a hold of. And, I'm a grump. No, it just we met. I think we met long ago, probably in the 20s. Not
2020.
1920s, the
Yep.
2020s, and it's I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate what you're doing. You're not out there to win the world. You're out there to win one person at a time. You know,
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do life, and then just figure it out from there.
but the thing is, and I talked about this early on the podcast that you were a former Marine. Well, once a Marine, always a Marine, and so it brought you into a camaraderie. You know, a place where that you felt you belonged. So how has that adapted you to be an entrepreneur?
Um, I mean, first, when you leave the military, when I first left the Marine Corps years ago, um, there's a sense of loneliness, and then even um, after I left the Navy civilian side, when I was doing a lot of military government related things, there's also a sense of kind of loneliness because there's just that bond and like you said, camaraderie around each other. And so I think in one way that sets as an entrepreneur, it sets me up because I kind of know what it's like in a couple different ways. In the military scenario, I know what it's like to be giving something and then figure it out.
Hmm.
Like adapt and overcome is very uncommon. It's not, excuse me, very common, unofficial motto of the Marine Corps and the military in general. Is just figure it out,
Hmm.
and that's something that entrepreneurs have to do every single day. Any kind of business owner has to do, but entrepreneurs specifically is just kind of adapt. And one of the things my wife says is we um, our goals are in pen, but our path is in pencil.
Hmm.
And even that pen, we might have a special pen eraser, and just we just learn to adapt and just figure out like we kind of know where we want to go, but we're open to any conversation, and a lot of that kind of goes against some of the military stuff I was taught, but also on the other side of just adapting and figuring it out, um, really aligns there, and that's what's helped me survive, and also I've had to find my own, create my own community.
Hmm.
And as you leave the military, you have to build your own camaraderie or community. And I've done that with entrepreneurs. I do a lot with veterans still. That's why I'm super passionate about Thrival, one of my latest ventures on the energy bar front, because it's back to military. It was created for the military problem of bad nutrition in combat. And so for me, I'll keep always doing the entrepreneur things, community things, but I've always got to keep finding ways to grow that community around me. Even locally, I just joined a local board in Colorado Springs for a military government kind of networking group, and now I'm a VP of one on that board. And so I just like finding the right communities that mimic that similar military bond of just getting stuff done together, figuring it out. But yeah, I don't know if that's what you asked, but that's what you got.
You never know what you're gonna get when you ask Matt a question. No, but it's just your rise as an entrepreneur really intrigues me. It really does because in a short amount of time, you've taken the opportunities that have been presented to you and you've run with them. And I've known entrepreneurs that have been doing what they do for 20, 30, 50 years until they get hit by that lightning. And you seem to get hit by it all the time. They turn around, oh my God, he's on another board. Oh my God, he's marketing this new product. And it's like I and you just mentioned one, Thrival. This energy bar created for military, but it's anybody can buy it. How'd
Yeah.
you get involved?
So Thrival is a great conversation because I can tie me getting involved with Thrival to 2020, me answering a phone call. I didn't know the number. And it was me putting and it might have been this month because September is, I don't know the actual term, but it's like anti-suicide month. It's mental health awareness month. And, and I think I put my phone number out just saying, hey, anyone wants to talk? I threw it on LinkedIn. And like a couple days later, I got a call from someone, a buddy named, now a good friend named Zach. Didn't know it. And it was a number I didn't know. Most people don't answer numbers they don't know. This is a
Oh,
great
I
reason
answered
why.
them all.
I know you do because it makes good book traffic. Uh, and so I answered the phone. We talked, became friends. Later, as I was leaving the government side, became business partners in one thing and then another. He's one of the creators, and his wife is the original founder of Thrival as a mill spouse. Um, he's one of the VPs of Thrival as well, and just kind of it's just networking the right people. And a lot of people have asked with Thrival and in general, like, how have you gotten where you are so quickly and you've only been doing this for 2 3 years, you've grown in this many ways. And I like to say my secret sauce is don't be a dick, don't be a jerk, and be nice and talk to everybody. And that's really,
I'm now I had disqualified from all those.
yeah, like then
This is
that
why you succeed faster.
but that's it. I literally talk to everyone I meet, and I never know. Like I'm in business with people that I met in the grocery store line. I'm doing. I had completely accident. I was in the space 4 weeks ago at something else in Utah. Went and go to see an old friend who I used to work with years ago. Stopped by his shop. Somebody walked in. That person happens to live 10 minutes from me here in Colorado. Neither of us were in our hometown. He came over last weekend. We're a sponsor for Thrival. He happens to be the number one bull rider in the country right now. And I just met him saying hi to some dude as seeing a friend. And so he's 26 years old, one of the most incredible humans I've ever met, kind, just ferocious on a bull, but just a great person. And just that's for me, it's all relationships. It's just finding people and not trying to get anything out of it. We both know mutual people that all they do is try to capture things out of you. They want their value, their money, their thing. And for me, it's just I give, and sometimes I give too much. Early in our marriage, Lindy had to give me like, "Hey, you can't give away this. We need to pay rent. You can't give away because for me, it's just I just want to give to people and just help people and meet people and from that things occur and things happen. My brother actually, I didn't know this till later in life. My brother went to my mom in our teenage years. I'm the older one. He's 2 years younger than me, and he, I guess, really struggled with me as a kid because in his eyes, I got everything I wanted, which I do, but not because it's given to me, because I don't understand the word no. I don't process giving up well. To me, it's just, oh, just re- retreat, regroup, hey, and head the next way and find a different path. And I've always applied that to everything I've done is yeah, there's I have some great wins. I have some terrible losses. I had a coworker that said, I never want to experience the Matt Denny effect because your life is like this, you're doing this, you're clear up here and then you're down, you're hitting by lightning in the good way and the bad way. And I just keep finding ways to bounce back. And I think for me, the bounce back is the people. It's the relationships. That's where my passion is, and that got really hard this year. I had to really force myself to say no to things of like, no, no, it's okay to ignore them. It's okay to not get back to someone. It's okay to do because I had to work through my own stuff and get my own health right, and still am. There was even I think weeks I didn't respond to you, and because I turn everything off and just
You're going,
try to focus
where's
on me.
Matt?
Yeah,
What's going on? I
yeah.
thought it was an episode of Carmen San Diego where I have to find you.
Well, that too. That's the funny thing is most people don't know and still don't know the things they go through because they don't see me stopping.
Hmm.
And um, I was feeling real when I was going through all this year. I was kind of pretty depressed. Of like, well, man, I'm not doing anything like this. I'm just trash. And a friend told me, they're like, dude, your 30% is most people's like 200%.
Hmm.
So like, and the doctors proved it. I was only at 11%.
Hmm.
And so like I had to forgive myself. I was like, it's okay to take care of myself and slow down, focus on me, and still travel all over, do all these things, be involved in stuff, um, and then make myself even more lethal for the future because I
Well,
took the time
let's
to take
talk
care of
about you being lethal because and I think Lindy has a big deal about you being lethal. And you have a very caring heart. You want to help the community as much as you can, and you would probably do this free if you had to. Um, but you know, I think Lindy is the background going, no, you have to charge more. You have to keep and
it.
I even told you a few times up your prices. And I think that's a lot of that's that one thing that entrepreneurs have difficulty with because they want to be fair and they feel that this price that they're charging is just enough. You know, if they raise the price, they'll lose business. If they're too cheap, they're perceived as not valuable. But in your case, you could probably raise your price. The sky's the limit, and people will still hire you.
Yeah, as my health got crazy the last year, it's been like, well, do I have to shift? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do this? And I went to one thing, and someone in February, someone said, "Hey, what would it take for us to get you stopping everything you're doing and come onto our team full time and like stop everything I'm doing?" And I'm like, 3 million a year, and they're like, "That's ridiculous." I was like, you don't know what I'm doing, all the things I'm doing, and I share that funny story, and it's fun. It was they were like, "That's," I was like, "Well, then let's not talk. Let's just keep going." And I start with that because it's a wild, crazy number that no one may reach, but someone may,
Mhm.
and that's what it would take for me to pause some of the things I'm creating. But also, what that same event taught me, and I learned was there are people out there that the right people that you need for your business are probably waiting for you to raise your price because they want you at that higher tier level. They want you for you. They want you for that thing. Back when I first started 3 years ago, 2 years ago, geez, it was, or yeah, 2021, fall 21.
Mhm.
It was, I will fly to North Carolina, wash a car for $20 because that's what I had to do. Like, sure, yeah, you give me a flight, give me $30 and a sandwich, because that's what he had to do. And now to the point of like, oh no, I'm not going to go to that thing unless it's for this. Or what is my, especially when I'm doing, because a lot of the stuff I get paid for is more of the engagements, is the emceeing, the speaking, that sometimes people just want my energy there. And so I had to think about like, what is my energy worth? What is my leave the house cost?
Mm-hmm.
What is my of local? Okay. What is if I have to travel? Well, then I lose time for this and this and this. And I had to get real strict of like, nope, then we're not going to do business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my minute. And a lot of that came from you.
Right.
I even posted about it in I was pissed off at you in hotel room conversations, but it was for the better. It's the things I had to learn. I think every entrepreneur has to learn, or if they don't last very long,
Mm-hmm.
because you can only stay the affordable guy for so long. Um, and I mean, and it's doable. You can have that kind of stuff, but I would argue that's more of you're just creating a small business than you are creating entrepreneurship with all these different opportunities, and there's no shame in that. That's just not for me. The reason I am still any kind of form of entrepreneur on any day of the week is the freedom that it creates, and it's the freedom that it creates. And I can't. Again, that's why if you said, "Hey, come work for us," full like that's why 3 million is my number. I'll do that for a year and give up some of my freedoms for a crazy number that would that I could then just go do other stuff for free
Yeah.
and just
No,
do my passion and enjoy. That's
everybody has a price tag, and people are saying, "I can't be bought. I can't be bought." You know what? If I give you $3 million, you're going to be bought.
yeah.
You will take it.
Uh-huh.
And so when you look at things from your perspective, and I'm talking to every entrepreneur that's out there listening, is that
Right.
you do have a price. What is it? What will get you to go work for someone else? To shut down everything that you have for a year, for 2 years, whatever. And there's days for me. I've been a full-time, no safety net entrepreneur for 30 years. And yes, there are days where, I'm scrolling through LinkedIn going, that job seems interesting. That's exactly what I'm doing. And I scroll through and I'm thinking, wonder what it pays. And I look at the pay and I'm like, good Lord, who can live on that? No, you want me to work there? Up the price. And for you, when you give these prices for people that want you at their events, and you throw out these 50, 60, $100,000 price tag, you are dead serious because
Oh yeah.
they are buying you for that time period, and you got to get closer to that 3 million. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
entrepreneurs don't realize that. Look, if this is your price tag way up here, what are you willing to do for a 1 day event or a 2 day event? And they just they don't understand the concept of numbers. But if you do 5 or 6 of these a year, it'll equal
Yeah.
the high mark. And
Yeah. It,
you and Lindy are on the way, and I watch you guys, and she's doing her real estate filming, and you're doing your stuff. It's like the Wonder Twins, and there's nothing that will
it,
stop you guys.
and she's about we've even joked talked the last couple months. Maybe her stuff is scaled so fast. They're like, okay, maybe it's time for me to maybe in the next year or two, I stop what I'm doing and shift to her, help her grow and scale while I keep doing some of my fun projects and things. Because her stuff's gone bananas as well. And so it's and we so that's a crazy experience. Both my wife and I coming from so as I was leaving the government, I was Marines for 4 years and I was government employee for seven after that, and very stable career where being a government employee is very secure. May not be very financial lucrative. It can be okay, but it's very like there's very little things to worry about losing your job.
Mhm.
Going from that to both of us getting crazy into this entrepreneurship thing in 2021 at the same time.
Mhm.
And we had to have real conversations of like, hey, we won't see each other this month. That's okay because of what we're accomplishing down the road. And that's that's what I've learned early on. And I can't remember who it was, someone I saw online, and it was about is looking in times of years versus days and months. And I'm not looking at the success. I mean, if I'm depressed, I'm looking at the success of the last 2 years and the fails. But really, the things that are helping us grow is I'm making 5, 10, 15-year plans and goals for things that I may not even accomplish, but people behind me or next to me may accomplish. And
Yeah.
that's where we agreed as a couple to be like, hey, it's okay. We're not going to do this, but then we're going to go for 3 weeks in Spain together and be completely away from the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's what are you willing to give up to get to your goals? And if giving up being next to your wife for a couple weeks so that both of you can achieve that 3 million, 5 million, $10 million goal, I think it's worth it.
yeah, 100%. And it's just you just have to talk about it. I think there's goods and bads that we're both entrepreneurs. Um, the bad is are severe ADHD on both of us, and so getting people to help us organize things is what had to happen. But the good is we both understand. I couldn't imagine going through everything I've gone through without somebody that's as flexible as her.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I had that perfect life partner for me, and I think me for her for the things we're achieving and going through together um, as we build that. And that's I think what's made it successful as well because she has the things I'm not great at, she's better at. Things she's not great at, I'm better at. And so we complement each other and work in each other's businesses. But we also have to have our own businesses to keep ourselves sanity of our own lives and and a lot of that also I think we were prepared for that from the military.
Mhm.
We were like I proposed via Zoom. We were apart. I showed up 4 days before our wedding, left 26 days later. Like this for the first 3 years of our marriage, we were together for maybe 3 months in 2 3 years, and so we know how to be independent to achieve something
Mhm.
and to make sure that we're staying communicable and together while we're doing that. And that's where I think it can be hard as an entrepreneur, whether it's married, not married, whatever, just balancing. And there is no balance. You have to I have to agree, okay, this month there's no balance. Now I've got this and this and this, we're going, but we'll take some time and create some time. Otherwise, if you don't, your health will tell you. And my body told me in many different ways. Um, and so I don't know if it's more of a harmony than a balance and an agreement to you have to know what you're willing to sacrifice, like you said, and be willing to do it. And if you're not, you just kind of stay where you are, which is okay, or go back into I see so many entrepreneurs that go back into the workforce, the 9 to 5, not because they chose to, because they had to.
Mhm.
It's you choose to, that's fine too, but because they had to, because they couldn't get their business, because they couldn't get to pass this one thing. And like my LinkedIn profile says, I like to play Battleship while everyone else is playing Risk. I have failed 15 times before most people wake up in the morning,
Mhm.
and I think that's a very common entrepreneur thing, and the successful ones anyway.
Yeah, it's I look at what I've done over 30 years, and yes, there's been some failures. I mean, I had a video photography business, crashed and burned. I had another business, didn't do so well. I mean, yes, I had one business that lasted 19 years, and this coaching business is going on 23 years, and some of them I operated at the same time. But all those things that I've done over the course of time taught me lessons. Those failures, I don't consider failures. I consider them my classroom experiences that well, shit, I'm never going to do that again because that, just created such a bad experience that now I know how to overcome it. Just like, the Marines, you adapt, you overcome. And with that mentality, I would have never written all these books, you know. Had I gotten myself stuck in the muck and said, I just can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go work for someone else. That mentality would have never allowed me, you know, to produce what I do. And so every
Yeah.
morning I get up and say, who can I piss off today? Because the thing is that sometimes you do need to upset somebody. And you have to do it in such a degree that it's not malicious, but for your own sanity to say, look, I'm on my own course. This course is mine. And for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay on this course so I could be successful. And if someone tries to deviate me from that course, I'm going to tell them off. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I love that you brought that up because I actually share what you tell me all the time, or told me once, and maybe it's just in my head all the time. Is is now when I'm going through things the last couple of years since knowing you, so I share this when I'm talking to folks. I was like, yeah, when I have my struggle, my bad thing, I just think of my publisher in my head. He's like, put it in a chapter, write it down, send it to me. We'll figure it out where it goes in the future. It'll go somewhere. And it's really true. And I look at things that way. I'm like, oh, this sucks. Yeah, this isn't great. But anyone that I've learned from over the years, anyone in history, if we know about them and they're severely successful, they didn't have a great life.
Right.
They didn't have success after success. They had those things, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing so much. I get people all the time. They're like, why are you sharing that this didn't work? Why are you sharing your secrets? Why are you sharing this?" It's like, because I don't know what does and doesn't work for people. And I think people I've learned from that's how I've learned. I've learned from podcasts and videos and talking to folks like you. And I think if we don't keep sharing that stuff out, then you just kind of create that vacuum that you're around. And you never know. The things you go through could affect someone. And I was telling someone the other day this. So when like in my marketing brain of things, which you know a lot of, is well, how do you get people to break out of their normal way of doing things from a marketing perspective? I look at it this way. When they start talking about something, they are probably going to be, this is dumb. No one cares about this. Nobody actually cares. And I always like to say, the more boring you think something is, the more interesting the person listening to it probably has learned something because you know it so well. And I think that's why people get imposter syndrome is like you know something so well, you can just go like this, whatever it is. And if no one cares about that, it's boring because you know it. But the people that don't know it, it's fascinating as hell. And
Mm.
it's a beautiful story to see the things mold and how they come together. And that's why, yeah, again, I don't know what you asked, but that's what you got.
It's the Matt Denny effect. It's the ADHD. But I think we're all entrepreneurs have some type of ADD, ADHD.
Yeah.
We have to. For me, it's sometimes I keep myself busy just so that my brain doesn't go scattering off into the mist somewhere because I will go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, Rob, where are you? And I'm like, thousand miles off, in my brain somewhere. And they don't understand that my brain never turns off. And it's probably why
Mm.
I don't get a lot of sleep because I'm always thinking about how can I better, my client? How can I make this book better? How can I make this interview better? How can I all these things? And goes back to I think the whole Pinky and the Brain you know, cartoon. What are we going to do today, brain? We're going to take over the world. And I think that's the goal. That's the dream of every entrepreneur. They want to be the next Coke. They want to be the next, Facebook. They think that what they're doing is going to propel them to the stratosphere. And sometimes what we do just keeps us grounded. And people, our clients, are better for it. They appreciate the honesty. They appreciate the moral compass that we have. And for me, it's always been about integrity. It's always been about loyalty. It's always been about freedom and legacy. And for you and Lindy, I can see that you already have the freedom down, but what is the Matt Denny legacy look like?
Awesomeness and high fives everywhere you go, obviously. Uh, I actually Lindy and I weren't together yesterday, and I sent her a video. We're going camping this weekend. I was like, hey, when we're in the woods, I want to make this hilarious spoof training video. Have you seen those videos of like to the Rocky soundtrack where they're like training and it's all these jump cuts?
Yeah.
And I want to do that with high fives. It's like training for my next conference. Gotta stretch, gotta do the hand muscles, gotta hit some trees with my hand. Because it sounds silly to most, but if once you spend, I guess, 5 minutes with me, that's kind of who I am. Like I think a high five can change the world. And it can be a hello, it doesn't have to be a high five. Just talking to someone can impact someone's world, and I know that because it's impacted my world. And so I mean, I don't know if I've thought about what my legacy is besides being awesome. I mean, it already kind of is. People know me as Mr. Be Awesome, the high five guy. Like I get that's somebody asked me my business model. Whenever I go to conferences, like I can leave with pretty much whoever I want. And they always ask, well, what's your metrics? How do you go into this? Like, what are you trying to achieve? And like how often are you trying to sell? I was like, my goal at every conference and any event I go to is to give 1,000 high fives. And if there's 1,000 people there, then I want to give 10,000 high fives. And they go, no, what's like your business model? Like that is my business model because you are going to remember me because he's the idiot with a mohawk that gave me a high five and gave me some sticker with his freaking face on it than some another person in a suit that gave me a pamphlet about something that I don't know or going to remember about.
Yeah, I think
And
that we need to eliminate metrics. I think we need to eliminate analytics, monetization, all those bogus keywords that people like to throw out, and just have a people first conversation.
yeah, like, hi. I
Mhm.
actually do this when people are like, hey, what do you so hey, I'm so and so. What do you do? I was like, I bring joy into people's lives. No, what do you do like for work? I was like, that's what I do for work. You know, what do you do? I was like, that's what and sometimes just make stuff up because I just want to know the person. And I get it. They're there to sell, they have a job. But in marketing, I want to be that good that any team I work with, I always say that I want you guys to be so known that you don't have to ever sell.
Mhm.
That's mission accomplished for me,
For
as I
me,
want your brand and your thing to go wherever you belong, your area of expertise, and you don't have to be a salesman. You don't have to be a person convincing them because they already know who you are.
for me, it was never about sales because when you become an entrepreneur or when you go to work for someone else in the sales arena, they teach you 101 ways to try to get that sale. I'm like, I can't remember all those things. And if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I can't think, oh, wait a minute, is that lesson number 23? Now how am I gonna turn this around to try to convince them to buy? That's too much to learn. And for me, it's always been about trust. I build trust with somebody, and they're more inclined to trust me, to buy from me, to feel safe with me. And I always lead with a conversation. Sometimes, like a while back, I injected myself into a conversation. The guy turns to me and goes, "You're an asshole." I said, "Thank you very much." And I just kept on going. And later later that day he goes, "You know, most people would have just walked away." He goes, "You just stood there and had a conversation." He goes, and then he wanted to talk to me. He wanted to know me. He got, and we became friends. And, so sometimes I'm not encouraging everybody to be an asshole because not everybody can pull it off. But sometimes you have to interject yourself into a conversation to make yourself known.
Yeah, I think it's differentiating yourself.
Mhm.
It's for you. You've mastered that art of sarcasm and that art of I don't give a shit. But it's never in a negative, like disrespectful way. It's just kind of your personality, and so it's how do you differentiate yourself so that you are memorable, so that you are having that moment, that thing that someone goes back to, maybe as a friend, maybe as a business, maybe as a thing. But there was someone I saw a few years ago that was talking about like even how you give business cards to people and just doing like tricking them and doing it some funny way of just make yourself known and memorable. And that's I guess going back to your original question of the legacy is I'm happy to be known as a high five guy. Like
Mhm.
I am happy to be known as the guy that spreads awesome um, versus like the guy that built $1 billion company. That's going to happen anyway. So, um, like, how do I create more of an impact by just being me? And that's why I've like looked more into the doing my own book and thing and talking to you about that because of for me it's just natural. My natural state is just to be kind of loud and out there and talk to everybody and just do these things. And not everyone is like that. The
Mhm.
same way that I learn from people that aren't like me. All I hope is that if I help one person, great. If I didn't, I had a hell of a time doing it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's great. So how do people find you? Where do they go?
yeah, so at Mohawk Matt Denny, everywhere, even Venmo. You can Venmo me if you want. I mean LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my most used. Facebook, Instagram. Think I'm on X or whatever it's called these days. But yeah, LinkedIn's preferred. They can send me a text, 801-472-8021. If I'm alive, I'll text you. If I'm not, who knows? Um, I just like meeting great people, sharing great stories. And I do have this new rule I started where our first interaction, especially if you message me on LinkedIn, like, hey, I want to chat. Like, cool, here's my 7-minute meeting. I'll give anybody 7 minutes. After that, you either got to pay me for it or it's got to be worth my time. And I don't mean like as a business, even as a friend. I just got a lot going on, and I had to learn. I learned to protect my time, even when meeting. I do want to meet and talk to everyone, but I can't do that every day. And so I had to learn to build that for myself. But yeah, I mean, online, shoot me a Venmo if you just want to, because I need a new hair gel.
Yeah, man.
It's
Any
it's
amount.
Mohawk on every platform.
This has been awesome, and I hope not to wait another 3 years to do another one because
No, definitely not.
and I want people to understand that um, the people I bring on these podcasts may be a little eclectic in what they do. Maybe they're scatterbrained. Maybe they got ADHD to the extreme. But these are our tribe. These are our people. These are the people that we learn from the most. Do you learn from someone that's a CEO in a glass house way up in the sky? No, because you never see them. They don't talk. They don't give lessons. It's the people like me and Matt that are out there every day that we want to educate people. That we want to tell them our stories. That it's not that we want to be monetized. It's that we want to be able to share our experiences with everyone so that they continue down the road that we're the right path and to be successful. So with that, I want to say thank you, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks, Rob.